mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? Stick your hands up if you've heard that before. How many of you said it to yourself in the mirror? Do you ever ask whether you are fair enough, good-looking enough, attractive enough, etc.? Most people will do it in their heads, and most people in the morning will look in the mirror and think, oh, let's put something on. But mirror, mirror on the wall comes from a fairy tale. And the important thing about that is that women, in particular, are conditioned to see ourselves in a certain way. And maybe the men also are brought up as boys to see women in a certain way. So who said those words? It was the wicked witch in Snow White. And that was the stepmother. But she was an older woman who had the magic of witch power. She was a very powerful woman. And what we've got here is this archetypal figure of women as they get older, of actually being afraid of losing their looks and having an aggressive power where they want to obliterate the young, innocent-looking ones. They feel jealous and envious. And in the other hand, in fairy tales, what we have is the passive old woman, the one that Red Riding Hood has as a grandmother, where she was basically being looked after and fed, and Red Riding Hood went to feed her, and she was so weak and feeble she got put in a cupboard by the wolf and shoved away, and then eventually she was eaten, or she was afraid of being eaten. So these images of women are taught to our children that as you get older, you actually lose your looks and you become quite powerfully aggressive, or you become weak and feeble and dismissed. And this is what I find with my clients, is that many of them feel that as they're getting older, they start going down a slippery slope. So where they reach the top of their career, or they have their family and they're the matriarch of the family during the Christmas dinners and all this kind of thing, they find that they reach a point where their career is sliding away because of their age. Simply because they're getting older, things start being taken away from us. And we also start worrying about how our health will be, whether we've got enough pension, whether we've got enough investment, whether our relationships are going to last, or we may be facing relocation or even bereavement. So what we're going to look at is how we can turn that around and change. So that I'm hoping that this, if you're younger, it might not be in your mindset yet, but certainly if you're coming up for 50 or looking just past 50, it's often a very common aspect that these things build up. So let me just see if I get this right. So why do we worry about being older? It's a natural process, and it shouldn't really give us the stress that we feel it does. But quite often, being older comes with particular differences that we've not met before in our lives. And one is that we become unseen. People start dismissing us, and we try and look beautiful. We have the fillers and all the liposuction, and we try and pull ourselves together to look 20 years younger. And there's a lot of ageism around women at the moment to be 20 years younger. And the phrase at the moment is also to be the ageless generation. Ageless in the sense that you always look young. Not ageless in the sense that you're empowered by being older, and that being older and your wrinkles and your lines and your stretch marks are wonderful things to have and should be valued. But no, an ageless generation that's forced and sort of oppressed into feeling they have to look a certain way. Obviously, some people go to extremes, but even in a very subtle way, we all read about it in the magazines, and that's where we feel we're going. So with that, there comes a lot of pressure, which leads to stress. So I'd like you to think now, on a scale of 0 to 10, how stressed are you? How stressed are you today? Perhaps not, but how stressed are you in your life? And is that partly because of your attitude towards your aging process and your ability, or what that means to you, your capability as you get older? Are you thinking about a pension yet? Have you thought about how you're going to live later on? Are you of the age, like I became, where suddenly I turned 60 and they said, oh, sorry, you've got to work another 6 years? Now, I was a lecturer in a university and a college working with 17-year-olds. It was quite stressful. And on top of that, the older students were just very demanding and very needy. And it's a 24/7 job. And they were asking me at 60 to work another 6 years at that pace at a job that was hardly able to do. But I didn't have time to go to the hairdressers. I didn't have time to get my nails done. I didn't have time to go shopping. I was doing marking in the car in the traffic jam. I was making all my emails to parents and that in the traffic jam while I was waiting for an hour to get home on a 20-minute drive. And then when I got home, I would have something to eat and start marking again or prepping the next day. And there's not just that job, there's lots of other jobs where modern women are expected to carry an even greater load than they've ever done before. And so to be told that your pension isn't good enough, or that your husband's going to go off with somebody younger, or something else, you need to relocate, and you're looking after your grandparents, your own parents, and your grandchildren, the stress builds up. So has anybody felt like that? There's quite a few hands go up. You don't have to put your hand up. Inside your head, you know that what I'm saying is true. Another aspect, there's two connotations here. One is we sleep less. We've got worries and concerns on our mind. And in the old days, we used to go to sleep when the sun went down and get up when the sun came up. Now we've got electricity and all kinds of digital stuff. Facebook first thing in the morning, Facebook last thing at night. And so basically, we don't sleep very well. The stress mounts up and we become anxious. We aren't able to think clearly. The bedroom can become a bit of a nightmare, and it can become surrounded by work. And then if you are made redundant or you are retired, that may all disappear, and then where are you? A lot of people feel empty nest syndrome, not just because their children go off to university later because you're older parents, but also because you have no job. And the thought of going for a career interview, go and get yourself dressed up now and sell yourself. You know, your hair's not the best it used to be. You've got more wrinkles, you're tired, you're not sleeping so well. And the other aspect is the sexual side, relationships. Menopause comes to all of us, some earlier than others, but most of us will be through the menopause by 52. The average age for menopause to be finished is at 52. And basically, where's your partner? And there are more and more women alone, choosing to live alone, and therefore carrying all the stress by themselves. So women in particular, their lifestyle has changed quite a lot. And as we get older, the mindset is of being a slippery slope down to ill health. Stress will create illness, a degenerative body, not only your wrinkles, but it's what's happening inside. And so on that gloomy picture, you might find yourself sitting awake at night thinking, what am I doing with my life? Where's all my zest gone? Where's my passion? You know, who am I? Why doesn't anybody take any notice of me anymore? And so these questions can be quite stirring, because then you hit a crisis. And some people will just go into grandmotherhood or slip into non-entity, and others will be empowered. So here we have this beautiful rose. It's a symbolic of what we hope our lives is going to be, how we think our life is going to end, and what we think our retirement is going to be like, and how we think we should be fulfilled, how we feel that we should be meaningful and have purpose in life, because that's what we get from a job quite often, is a feeling of purposefulness and a feeling of empowerment. We matter, people listen, and then it's starting to fade. Okay. So if we don't have sleep, there's so much research being done on how that lack of sleep will deteriorate your thinking processes and your bodily functions. It will inhibit so much of your nutritional balance because it will stop your nutrition being digested properly. But something else happens inside as we get older that causes wrinkles. It's not just the sun. Some people will say it's the sun that causes wrinkles. A lot of the wrinkles are from inside. So I'm going to show you a little bit of you. This is you on the inside, and it's absolutely stunningly beautiful how you are. Just 1 minute. So what you're seeing is a cell, one cell in your body. And its journey. And these are things called mitochondria that live within the cells and give you energy. All these little flashes are things called mitochondria that are filling up your cells and giving it oxygen and helping it to release energy in your body. That's going on inside you right now. It's quite lovely. That's just one cell. You've got millions. Okay. Anybody seen that before? Have you seen inside yourself? Obviously, it's a representation. However, that is how beautiful you are on a very microscopic level. You have so much activity in you, so much energy being generated. But as we get older, it becomes attacked by free radicals. We have oxidative stress, which is inside stress. So the stress inside you actually starts to attack your cells. So you see that beautiful cell living there, full of all its energy. And then actual physical stress and not eating properly, not sleeping properly affects your cells in your body, but so does the food you eat, the environment, too much light, too much electricity, noise, sound. So whereas children are so resilient and they're bountiful with millions of those, and they produce millions of antioxidants to fight off the disease, and all these oxidants that come in, the what we call rusting of the cells. As we get older, it diminishes. So by the time you're looking at me in my 60s, then basically I've got about a third of those lovely little things running around. And a lot of them have been destroyed. Actually destroyed. So part of me, whoever I was, now doesn't exist. It's ruined. It's got lines. On the inside, I don't see it. But this is where our degenerative diseases come from with our hearts and our major organs, because they're being attacked by those things. So here's a pretty cell. And this is what happens with free radicals. They come in. The antioxidants, when you're young, will fight off per free radical that comes in. There's plenty. And we actually produce free radicals ourselves. And the nature is in balance. But as we get older, it becomes more like this. We don't have the resistance to fight off the free radicals. So the oxidation happens. I'm coming back to Snow White with the apple. Yeah, the wicked witch, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? This beautiful apple, left to its own devices, would take longer to deteriorate than if we cut it open. If we cut it open, you know what happens. I haven't got a knife with me. But basically, you know that that lovely white center will soon become brown. And our skin becomes wrinkled. So what can you do to be youthful and rejuvenated? What can you do other than take something external, a pill, and what can you do other than waiting for the wrinkles and the dried up old fruit? What can we do to change society that makes us seem like a wicked witch just because we've got older? So I'm going to give you some techniques. The Secret Calm is about empowering you with some techniques that are so subtle that you can use them and nobody will know that you're using them. So I think if you were in a work situation or a family situation, that you might not necessarily want other people to know that as women that you feel weak. Most women I meet actually don't want anyone to know that they feel weak. They want to be strong. They want to be the head of the family. They want to do everything for their children. They want to be that queen. Not a bee, but a queen. They want to carry on. They don't like the thought of that slippery slope of losing their power. So I'm going to give you some techniques right now, and you can do them while you're sitting, and it doesn't mean you lay on the floor doing any yoga. If you've come across them before, just go with them, and I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 things to do. Are you okay with that? Yeah? Everybody's nodding. Good. Okay. So I know you're all breathing, and I'm sure you've all done breathing exercises, but we're going to start with a breathing exercise. The whole point about the Secret Calm is that it's subtle enough that you can use it in any situation without anyone knowing what you're doing, but it's very empowering very quickly. Did anybody see this in one of my videos before we started? No? When you're breathing, I'm going to assume that you don't know this, but obviously you will do, some of you. When you're breathing, I'm going to take this off. Did it come off? No, it won't. Go around the back. Most women breathe from the top of the chest, yeah? Most of you might be aware of that. We're shallow breathers, and the scientists don't really know why we breathe from the chest. They mostly think it's because we have babies around this area, and therefore we naturally want to breathe from here. Men, however, will mostly breathe from this part, the diaphragm. And so will babies and children, and so will you when you're asleep. And this is another reason why sleep is so important. So I'd like you to put your hands on here. Just sense where you're breathing from at the moment. And now I'd like you to take in a deep breath, but I'm going to use this. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in, but like a balloon, you're going to build up. And then breathe out and breathe away. I know it's very basic, but just go with it for a moment. Just breathe in and out. And in and out. Okay, well done. I can see you're all really going with this. So what I want you to do now, the best breath is the one from the belly breath that singers and swimmers use, but it's when you're asleep. So when you breathe from here, you send a signal to your brain. Your body senses all the time what's happening with you. Your brain will say, oh, you're going to sleep. Your brain will say, you're going to sleep. I'll send you some dopamine to help you sleep. So when you're feeling stressed, if you can breathe from down here, your brain will believe you and actually send you some dopamine and make you feel all nice and sleepy and relaxed, and your shoulders will drop and you'll feel good. But you may have difficulty doing that. So sometimes it's good to get something that you can play with. It could be your hands, but I use this with children. So breathe with me. Breathe in, you're a balloon. Breathe out, you're deflating. Breathe in and breathe out. Now this is the most important step. This is the bit that you really need to do, because that was just the preliminaries. There is a space in between the breath when you hold the breath where you actually oxygenate your blood. So if you breathe in and hold your breath, oxygen in your blood, where does it go? It goes to all your major organs and your brain. And you get clarity. Instead of having the fog Now, when you're stressed, your body shuts down, your brain becomes focused. Escape, 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 like a Dalek. Your brain just tunnel vision on what you need to do, whether you need to get out or whether you need to escape or whatever you need to do. And so everything shuts down, except for your running organs, your arms and legs. That's why you don't think clearly, and you should never make decisions when you're stressed. So if you imagine you're older, you're tireder, you've got less resistance to life, and life seems to be taking everything away from you, the carpet's slipping away, and you can't make a decision, and yet you've got to make some really big decisions. Simple. Breathe. So let's do it together then. I'll use this so you can all focus. We're going to hold the breath this time. I'm going to do it 4 times, and then I'll show you something else. Right, so breathe in, like a balloon. Hold it. And breathe out and deflate. Now, you might like to do this on the count of 4. Okay, so we breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. And hold, 2, 3, 4. And out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. And hold, 2, 3, 4. And out, 2, 3, 4. Now, that may not be your rhythm, but I do suggest that you practice that, because if there's some guys in the room I know, but a guy will sit down, he'll relax his body, he'll watch television, and he'll breathe from here. He'll be walking along the road, he'll give the jacket off you and wrap you up, and he'll walk along sleeveless, because his muscles are built in a different way, but also he's got this insulation because he's breathing from here. And this is where babies, their tummy rises and falls when they're asleep. And so if you do that, if you induce it and make it, your brain thinks you're going to sleep and starts giving you dopamine. And so when you get dopamine, you feel more relaxed and you start feeling relaxed and sleepy. So I'm going to give you another way of tricking your brain. I want you to hold your hands up. Now, this is a little bit tricky, so I might have to turn my back to you. You're going to put your thumb in that hand, and you're going to put those 2 fingers in that hand, so you've got like that. So as long as you've got a thumb in one, and put the other 2 fingers in the other one. So you've got 2 things pointing in your palm. Yeah, so you're pushing on your pressure points. So I just want you just to put your hands down and relax, but just gently hold and push a little bit gently. Don't have to push hard. Put your hands down and it'll be better. Now, relax your fingers. Now, what you've got is a situation where you can be at work in a meeting, or you can be in court, or you can be in an argument with your family, whatever's stressing you out, and nobody can tell that you're doing something any more than they can tell that you're breathing. But basically what you're doing is you're pushing on pressure points, but those nerve endings send a message to your brain, and your brain says, you feel safe. And you feel safe because we've got a reflex when we're babies. Hold on to mummy's hair, hold on to mummy's jacket, mustn't fall. We hold on. As soon as we feel something in there, you know, if you put your thumb near a baby, you can't get it out, right? You cannot get that baby to let go. That feeling of holding on to something is why we wring our hands when we're upset, why we play with things, why we fiddle with things, and why we want to hold hands when we're depressed or lonely or sad. And yet really you can do it yourself, and you can teach children to do it. You literally just push, and no one knows you're doing it. Before you do a presentation, anywhere, meeting, driving test, anything, exam, it will make you feel relaxed because your brain again will say, you feel safe. When you feel safe, you do not have to feel stressed. And if you don't feel stressed, you can have some more dopamine and feel more relaxed. And the brain, your brain, loves to give you dopamine, loves to dope you up. And it's so simple. You can use something. You could use a pen or the armchair. You could use something else, but your fingers and thumb, nobody can tell you're using it. Okay? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? This will have you smiling. But there's a secret to smiling. Let's move this on a bit. When you smile, you're moving these muscles. These muscles are connected to your brain, and you can trick your brain again. What you can do is if you push in there, it'll actually hurt or ache. I'm going around the mic. Okay? And when you smile, you use the same muscles as you do when you cry. When you're angry and you're passionate, you're angry, you're smiling, you're laughing, you use those same muscles. It sends a message to your brain saying that there's an emotional response happening. And so what you need to do is trick your brain to give you the emotional response that you want. When you get up in the morning, no matter how bad you feel, any kind of sleep you've had, first of all, notice, are you sleeping from your tummy? Are you breathing from your tummy? Usually first thing in the morning you will be. Look down before you move. Stay in that lovely state. Right? Try and keep that going. Make your way to the bathroom. And when you go in the bathroom, be brave. And look in that mirror. I challenge you to smile at yourself in the mirror first thing in the morning and actually get this muscle working so that it releases serotonin, the happy drug, the drug that makes you want to fall in love, the chocolate drug. Then you'll think, silly sausage. And then you'll start smiling at yourself. And the point is, you can practice smiling at yourself. And it's not anything to do with psychology. It's to do with physiology again. When you stretch these muscles, you get a tingling up here. It releases serotonin, and serotonin makes you feel happy. And that's why when you are crying, I'm sure some of you have cried yourself to sleep sometime, either as a child or a teenager in love, and you're sobbing on the floor, you can sob yourself to sleep because the serotonin will kick in, but so will dopamine, and it will make you relaxed. And you can go into a kind of like euphoric bliss before you fall asleep, even though you're devastated. And often bereavement and tragedy can do that, where someone will be literally sobbing for a long time. Because the body wants you to survive, your brain wants you to survive, it doesn't want you to be miserable, it wants you to be happy. And at this point, we usually play happy music. Meditation, I'm not going to do some meditation with you, but meditation and visualization is important. There's lots of yoga and stuff out there. If you'd seen me 2 years ago, and there are some people in this room who know that I didn't like driving at night, I was always tired, I was working and trying to set up a business at the same time, I was on that downward slope, I had hardly any pension, I've been on my own for a number of years, my kids are grown up, I've got grandchildren, and then all of a sudden I had to work another 6 years, and I was worn out. I couldn't sleep, I was working too hard, what do? I was going to get ill. I was convinced that I would have a traffic accident on the way home through fatigue and tiredness. I was convinced that I would get cancer or something. I had to. What else was I going to do? There was no way out. And in a way, it's kind of like wishing it on yourself. Like if there's no way out and you don't want to go for interviews and you don't want to go for a job, and who's going to employ you anyway, what else is there? And there's that little self-sabotage part of us that would actually say, well, let's give up then. But I say to you now that as an older woman, 2 years ago, I transformed myself into a happy, smiling, exciting person. It doesn't matter how you manifest that, it's what do you want? Do you want to go and sit in Barbados and have a beach life? Have you got someone in your life that you're happy with? Or are you looking after somebody who's ill? You know, are there challenges in your life and you can't see how you can be like this? But is there a desire? What is your desire? For me, it was freedom and an income. I became what I want you to become. And if you're younger, I want you to work towards it. I want you to be a Seenager. Okay? But the point is that as a Seenager, you go back to your teens. Right? You're a protege of your family, your culture. You were just a little replica of that, and then you had to find yourself. And this is where women, older women, find themselves. Who am I? I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. Who am I? Where can I have meaning? What can I do to make my life purposeful? But if you go back to a teenager, really, the whole world is their oyster. And this is what happened to me. Okay, does it matter? Does anything matter as long as I'm happy? Because I've never been happy in my life as much as I am now. Because the world is my oyster, and the world is your oyster, and you can make it what you want. So a teenager, as you know, they're just going to go forward. So how do we get to be a Seenager where you're seen to be absolutely phenomenal? Sexy in the attractive sense. Sexy that people want to be with you. It's about self-fulfillment. Yeah? So how do we do that? And the first thing to do is actually look at the situation around you at the moment and decide how to handle that stress. Some of it is mindset. So when I work with people, I work with the physical, the emotional, and your mindset. And it isn't, you can't just say change your mindset. You have to change the whole lot together, and you have to have techniques to do it. Do you really want to spend 3 days on a course or studying a book? You might love reading, but do you really want the long route? It depends where you are, isn't it? When I was 40, I had plenty of time. When I was 50, I was enjoying it. I love every age, by the way. When I was 50, I look forward to being 50. But when I was 50, I was looking forward, and then I thought, hold on, I've only got 10 years. And to be honest, 10 years goes like that as you're older. Einstein said time is relative. It's relative to how much you've got left. 20 minutes to a child, wait for your dinner, 20 minutes is like 2 hours. 20 minutes to somebody my age or somebody even older is like, what? Are we there already? To be relaxed, to replenish yourself, and then to rejuvenate your life is what I'm asking for you to do. To actually think about what it is you want, how you can manifest that. Is there anybody who actually knows what they want? You can put your hands up. Yay, good. And I noticed they're mostly younger. So I'm going to give you another little thing to do, if you're willing. Yes, some people are nodding, that's good. Okay. If you just close your eye for a second, I'd just like you to listen to the noise and then just think of yourself sitting in the chair. And as you're sitting there, you are the most important person in the room. It doesn't matter what else is going on around you, it's what's happening for you. Listen to what you're focusing on. What does your brain focus on? As you're listening just around outside you, what are you listening to? Can you find something good in it? Can you listen further away? Maybe right down the far end of the building. Can you move your mind and your ears beyond what you've just listened to and further back? Going backwards. Can you listen to think, what could you hear outside? Outside of this building, what would you hear? What kind of sounds are there in the town outside? And you are the person here now. It's you that's listening. Take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. Draw your mind back here, but keep your eyes closed. Now I'd like you to imagine that you are in front of a window. And as you're looking out of the window, you can see something beautiful that you want for yourself. Something lovely. It has to be something that you want for yourself that's beautiful. If you can't see something, think of something very simple. I'd like you to hold on to that vision and feel that you can actually have that, and that's yours now for the rest of the day. It's your gift to yourself. It took 30 seconds for you to just be quiet and to be still and to breathe and to look for something good. And I'm hoping that you'll do that. And I'm hoping most of all that you'll smile in the mirror and do that every morning, and you'll start to see a big difference in your life. Okay, so it's been lovely working with you. We've got Laura at the back there with